They call this the most advanced era in human history. Apparently, there are medical breakthroughs everywhere. So why are millions of Americans more unhealthy and overweight than they've ever been? According to U.S. board-certified physician and expert nutritionist Dr. Amy Lee, one of the main reasons is 3 harmful foods that are being passed off as health foods all over the country. And wait till you hear this, because these foods can cause weight gain, clog your digestive tract, deplete your energy, and wreck your skin. They're banned in other countries. Yet shockingly, they're still legal in the US. The great news is Dr. Lee will explain how to stop and reverse this damage by simply learning which foods to avoid and how to spot them. And by doing so, you can experience easier weight loss, smooth digestion, and vibrant energy. To find out these 3 fake health foods, go to 3harmfulfoods.com/inspired. That's the number 3, 3harmfulfoods.com/inspired, or click on a link in the description down below. Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to this inspired live stream. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. I want to affirm this mantra and then move on. You just saw this, just seen this beautiful images from Germany. Today, probably tomorrow, for the rest of the week, and maybe longer. We'll see what happens. But for now, these images, of course, remind us of Canada a couple of years ago, last winter, 2022. And then we had the Netherlands, and then we had France, and then there is a I think the real momentum for these kinds of protests began in Canada. I think that just was a tipping point. And of course, now what they're on the surface, what the reason for these protests is tax hikes for the farmers in Germany, not just for the farmers, tax hikes for the truckers, for the farmers, At the same time, they're removing certain benefits that these farmers have been receiving. The state of the German farmers is pretty dire. I've been looking at some numbers here, and then we're going to go into more details, because this is just what's happening on the surface. There's a much bigger picture and a much deeper reason to protest. But just to tell you something, in 1995 in Germany, there were 390,000 active farms. In 2020, there were 240,000. So that is 150,000 farmers that were lost, or farms that were lost in just 25 years. If you look at the whole of Europe, in the European Union in 2005, so that's just 18 years ago, there were 14.5 million active farms. In 2020, there were 9.1 million left. That's almost 40% less in just 15 years. And this is the trend that's, of course, it's not just in Europe. It's in Australia. It's in the United States. It's in Canada. It's all over the world. So, as I said, on the surface, the German farmers are protesting tax hikes, loss of benefits, and overall horrible government in Germany. Okay, so that's on the surface. Now, if we look deeper, the people are fed up. The people have been fed up. There is a social engineering or re-engineering going on. There is a social restructuring going on. And if we don't understand the bigger picture, we will get lost in the politics of the day-to-day. The real truth is that no matter where you look in the European Union or in the Western world, for that matter, and not just the Western world, no matter what the color of the government is, it's going into pretty much in the same direction with some notable exceptions. It is one. It's like the Gambino crime family is running the EU, right? They're running the EU syndicate in Brussels, and then they have their capos and they have their lieutenants and everyone running the national governments, but it's all the same crime syndicate. And the social engineering is going towards a completely new way of life. The middle class, the lower and the upper middle class, which is the backbone and has been the backbone of the 20th century, of the economy of the 20th century, and not just the economy, the culture, everything, was always the middle class, is being eradicated. It's not just that the German farmers are protesting tax hikes. In the background, there are so many other things looming. For example, the Germans, like many other nations, are heavily financing migration into Germany. But not just that, they're giving migrants rights. It's happening all over Europe, by the way. They're giving migrants rights that go beyond what the national and the citizens of the nations are having. They're granting them pensions. They're granting them complete free medical. They're granting them free apartments. They're getting walking around money. Right now in Germany, I don't know if it's been passed yet. You Germans who are watching will know, or if it's close to being passed, is where migrants and that are coming into the country now will be able to collect the pension that's the equivalent of the people that have been paying into the pension fund for 35 years without ever having worked in Germany or paid taxes or anything. It's ridiculous. Of course, in this nation, the United States, we've had between 12 and 15 million people coming over the southern border just in the last 2.5, 3 years. It's ridiculous, right? So these are all things that are looming. What is the social engineering about? What is the EU trying to do? What is the Canadian government trying to do? What is the Australian government trying to do? New Zealand, what are they all doing? The 20th century was about the development of technology and proper infrastructure. And people, the economy for the most part was going up. Standard of living was going up. People had more money. People could travel and all those things. The 21st century, especially since the beginning of this decade, 2020, the 2020s, are all about bringing advanced technologies like AI, into government and having them basically govern everything. And they need to restructure society, because you won't need 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% of the labor that you needed in the 20th century if you replace everything with AI. They are killing the farmers, because the farmers are the last stand for some sort of food independence, and they don't want that. They don't want any independence. The middle class stands for independence. It stands for self-sufficiency, being able to take care of themselves, and independence. So they are killing the farmers to make it impossible for the society to be independent. They're infiltrated and have been infiltrating the education system to completely brainwash and destroy the last piece of family, of nuclear family structure that's been left. That's the social reengineering. It's going towards digital money, digital health, and of course, the merger of biology and technology. That is the key. And these measures that are so anti-human, that are in the name of climate change, by the way, they're so anti-human. These measures are not a mistake. They're the same measures all over the place. And you wonder what is coordinating these forces. As I said, it's like the Gambino crime family. There's one boss, and the boss is calling the shots everywhere. And so if you think the national governments matter, they don't really matter. What are the German farmers trying to do? They're trying to force the German current government to step down. Not the chancellor, not any one person, but the whole government to step down. Because what they've been doing in Austria, for example, since the last elections, they're on the fourth chancellor, and the chancellor is like the prime minister or president. They're on the fourth chancellor. None of them have been elected. So when shit hits the fan, one chancellor steps down, and someone else is being put in that position. There are no new elections. There's no new government. There's no accountability. They are just basically, they're just trying to push this through as fast as possible until they get over the finish line to an irreversible state of affairs. Now, the people are not having it anymore. The people don't want that social re-engineering. The people don't want their national cultures and heritages and traditions to be completely eradicated by unlimited, unchecked mass migration into the Western world, absolutely unchecked, where the national cultures, languages, everything is being destroyed at a very, very fast pace. It has nothing to do with being racist or anything like that. It has something to do with honoring the language, the tradition, the history of a particular region, and allowing the people to make that decision whether they want to change that and how they want to change that. But of course, since at least the last 10, 15 years, it's been much earlier than that, but that's when the push really happened. You have mass migration of large groups of people that are absolutely unwilling to assimilate to a culture. That's not why they're there. There are wonderful people migrating into all countries. I'm a migrant myself, wonderful people, but these people don't want to assimilate. They've not been pushed and sent there to assimilate. And that's also something that needs to be understood. There is so much at work here. And in any transformational period like the one we're in, neither the people nor the governments nor the powers behind the governments know where the breaking point will be, where the tipping point will be. It's not, they don't know which measure will be the one that will push the people over the edge. What I need to really emphasize here is that the German farmers, the Netherlands farmers, the Canadian truckers, and most of the other protesters were not just peaceful, they're positive. They're oftentimes very inspiring, uplifting. Yes, they are angry. Yes, they're showing their anger, but they're never violent. The German farmers have actually taken a lot of measures to make sure that instigators are not taking over, that undercover agents that the government so often deploy are not hijacking and turning this into some sort of racist debate or some sort of violent thing. They're taking measures. But of course, we've seen in Canada how hard the push was to basically put a terrorist stamp on the truckers when these were the most amazing people, hardworking, wonderful Canadians that were creating this beautiful momentum. And it's the same thing here. These are the majority of them, very, very good people, honest people, multi-generational farmers. And all they want to do is protect their land and protect their right to feed their families, put food on the table, and allow themselves to be somewhat sovereign and free in their decisions. This is something that we always will support, and we will be in solidarity with anyone who does that. We also need to understand that change needs to happen on the farming front as well, right? Artificial fertilizers, we need to go from this industrial agriculture model that all these small family farmers were pushed into because it was the only way to survive, by the way. A re-education needs to happen to other forms of agriculture like permaculture, which of course our friend Jim Gale from Food Forest Abundance is teaching, and many others are, by the way. So there are changes that need to happen, but not like this, friends. Not like what the governments are doing now. They're destroying livelihoods. Over the last 3 years, they've destroyed more businesses, more family restaurants, more small businesses, and more of the middle class than in any period before. So when you look at these protests, which, by the way, in my prediction, are going to be a contagion for the surrounding countries, I do believe Austria, Switzerland, Italy, France, they're eventually going to jump on board, maybe even in the following days. I don't know. The media is staying extremely silent in those countries. I'm following Austrian media. They're basically they're kind of mentioning it as if it's a small thing, as if the German farmers and now other professionals from other professions that are joining them are not shutting down the entire country, which they are basically. That's the whole idea. Block the roads, make sure that they're being heard. They're also very responsible with doing that by making sure that first responders can still get through and stuff like that. But here's the thing. This is a contagion that needs to spread all over the world, not to ask governments to do the right thing, but to set the course again. The people need to be at the helm of the ship again. This has been oftentimes attributed to Thomas Jefferson, but apparently it was a guy called John Basil Barnhill who said, "When the people fear the government, then there's tyranny. When the government fears the people, there's liberty." So this is very important, that we need to make sure that the government, in the long run, we don't want a government to fear the people. We don't want to be fear to be part of the equation. But for now, yes, absolutely, governments need to fear the people again and the consequences of their crimes, right, that have been committed against the people. We will cover this. We will look at the situation closely. We'll see what's happening in the surrounding countries. But we also want to make sure that we understand that this is not a German problem. It's not an EU problem. This is a worldwide social re-engineering. And if you want to understand how this social engineering is, in what direction it's going, the World Economic Forum is meeting in Davos again next week. Klaus Schwab and his cronies are going to go to this elitist place where they're going to have plenty of steaks and plenty of champagne and caviar, and they're going to tell you that you shouldn't eat meat, and they're going to tell you that you should eat the bugs. And they're going to get together, fly there in the private jets, talk to you about not starting your car, not driving, not flying. The number one hypocrites and psychopaths are going to get together and once again tell the world how they're going to re-engineer everything. Now, you and I have not signed up for this. The Germans have not signed up for this. The French have not signed up for this. The Canadians have not signed up for this because the people don't want this. The people don't want a AI takeover and an eradication of human biology, because that's what this is all about. That's what this whole thing is about. And the German farmers understand this. They understand that lab-produced foods are worthless, are killing us, and they're killing them, and they're killing their livelihoods. We don't want lab meat. We don't want lab-grown bullshit. We don't want a chemical soup. We want naturally grown food. We want humanely raised and in a respectful and grateful manner. When we eat meat, it's very important. This needs to come back. There is an understanding. I love the Native American way of looking at this. Everything is our relative, treating them like that. So all of this needs to come back. But friends, we can't allow for more and more draconian, tyrannical measures to be taken by the governments against the people. It's enough is enough. And we do stand with the farmers and with everybody else who is peacefully and constructively and positively showing that we need to change. That's always the key here, right? That's the key. Will we be and will they be successful? Of course. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be where they are. Otherwise, we wouldn't be where we are. We will be successful. I believe that slowly but surely, with the unleashing of all this Project Bluebeam alien stuff, right? They're showing that they're pretty much at their, they're pretty much down to their last card. Why? And why are they having so much trouble implementing the digital currencies, the digital everything, and the draconian measures? Because, see, the way it was supposed to play out, COVID was supposed to last much longer. This C-19 thing was supposed to go for the whole decade, on and off and on and off and on and off. Now, that was completely changed, right? The trajectory of that was changed. But if you had that on and off pressure, on and off, and people being, every other month on lockdown and everything being as draconian as it was 2020 and 2021, if you had that through the whole decade, they could have made all these changes in the background while people were suffering and could have sold this to the people much easier. Now that it didn't work out the way they wanted, it's much harder to push all this through because the people are waking up to this. I'm not saying they're fully waking up spiritually. I'm not saying they're fully aware of what is going on. They're just realizing there's something nefarious going on and they're not standing for it. And that is something that needs to be supported, because with every person that joins the awakening bandwagon, it gets stronger, it's stronger, and also on a spiritual level, it gets broader and broader, and it reaches more people. There is a 100th monkey effect at work here. That's why I said I believe it started with the Canadian truckers, and it has gone on and gone on and gone on. There's a 100th monkey effect, and the 100th monkey effect says that if a critical mass of a species has realized and learned and awakened to something, it jumps over on the rest of the species without them having to learn it, right? That's the 100th monkey effect. So basically, there's a field of consciousness that connects us all. The truckers in Germany, the farmers in New Zealand, the farmers in the Netherlands, the truckers in Canada, everybody is connected through this invisible field. And so what happens when a critical mass of people begins to realize something, understand something, change in a specific way, eventually the whole species is catching on to this. And there were experiments done on this that show this clearly, where they would teach a group of a species something, and after a certain number was reached, somewhere else in the world, without having had that experience, specimens of the same species had that same knowledge, and they said there must be a field that connects them. And this is what we're working with here. So I want to make sure we're not just talking about politics, left or right, and that crap, that we're understanding that there's something much greater at work here. So please share these beautiful video clips. We're going to get more compilations for you. Share this. There's a spirit in there. There's a connection in there. There's a togetherness there. There's unity there. There's also harmony there. Yes, there's anger there too, but let's share this and bring this out to the world. Let's support the German truckers and the Netherlands farmers and the Netherlands farmers and everybody else, because we're all in this together. And let's really show that we're not going to have it. And we say no. That is sovereignty, my friends. Sovereignty is owning our free will, is owning our thoughts, owning our actions, owning our decisions, owning our bodies. And that's what this is essentially all about. Essentially, it's about a much bigger picture. We're not going to have this AI social reengineering bullshit takeover by a nefarious group of entities that are in the dark, that are never seen, that cannot deal with our beautiful human spirit, with our beautiful human creativity, and with beautiful human solutions. All right. Get off the soapbox here. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to cover more of this. Love you all. Appreciate you so much. Please share. And we'll be back with you again very, very soon.